Hey guys, welcome back to It's Now or Never. I'm your host, Alex Willard, and today is season 2, episode 13. And this is the final part, the third part in the dating and college series that I've been doing for the past month or so. And so, in the past 2 episodes, I have shared stories about my dating life, about some of my friends, and just some of my thoughts on the whole dating scene in college. And I honestly, I think it's a mess. But I kind of talk about how I have kind of figured out how to navigate that landscape, and just given some different suggestions. So I have had a bunch of you guys submit different scenarios or questions you have for me that you wanted me to respond to or talk on. And so that's where we're going to be reading today. We're going to be talking about that and then just going into depth about some of the things that you guys are feeling, especially after listening to these few episodes. And even if you're not in college, but you're still in your early 20s and still trying to figure out the real world and kind of in this, I guess, phase of change in your life, this still applies to you as well. And if you're single in a relationship, if it's complicated, I think there's something for everybody in this. So with that, let's just get into it. Okay, guys, before I start, I want to talk about this week. This week has actually been insane. It's been pre-finals week. Next week is finals, and I swear I have something going on every single second of the day for the next week and a half. But I'm so excited to finally be home soon. I am currently filming this at 11:40 at night because I have had such a full day of things. But I finally have found time to sit down and talk with you guys. But if you're going through Dead Week right now, or Dead Week is next week, you got it. Take time for yourself. I think that's the biggest thing in this. I saw something the other day on little study tips and tricks, and I've been trying to do my best to get the best grades I can on my exams. There's some classes, I mean, there's no hope for me at this point. But I keep saying this, the biggest thing is sleep. So make sure you guys are getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. I know that's crazy for right now. But even if you have to cut your study time short, I think prioritizing that sleep is going to help you, because if you study for so long and you only get 5 hours of sleep, you're not going to remember the things that you studied and you aren't going to do very good on your exams. So take care of yourself this week, get that sleep, and you guys got this going into this next week. I believe in you guys. You guys are going to do amazing, and I think you need to believe in yourselves too. But let's just get into the first thing submitted by one of the listeners. So, I'm constantly attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable. How am I supposed to break this pattern and actually get into a healthy relationship? So, I feel like this is so common, but you stated it well. It's a cycle. So in previous episodes, I talked about breaking cycles, but I think that the biggest thing you can do first, the most important thing, is realizing that it's a cycle. So you keep seeing these patterns of, maybe it's the same personality trait, maybe it's the same type of guy, or maybe you're finding this guy or girl in the same place in life, whatever. But you need to figure that out first. What is it that you see repeating, and why? Is this it often stems from past experiences or unresolved emotional issues. So maybe if you've been in a previous relationship and you find yourself in a pattern of dating guys like your ex-boyfriend, or I mean, I know some people that they always date complete assholes. Not even assholes that not act like nice guys, they're just assholes. So why is it? Is it because this was the first boyfriend you ever had was an asshole and treated you like that, and so you think all men are like that, or what? And so, finding that root cause and then doing what you can to break the cycle. I think once you have a better understanding of like why you're attracted to these types of individuals, you can begin to work on addressing those underlying issues. This might involve, honestly, therapy or a lot of self-reflection, definitely setting boundaries in future relationships for yourself. And then additionally, like focusing on your self-esteem and your self-worth so that you're less likely to possibly seek validation from others who may not be able to provide it in a healthy way. So if you don't have that high enough self-esteem to be able to stick up for yourself, or to be able to recognize like this isn't serving me, this isn't what I deserve, if you don't have that high enough self-worth, you're not going to be able to, one, recognize it and recognize that this isn't for you, and then two, you won't be able to have the strength to step away. And then lastly, just like try to shift your focus towards finding those partners who are emotionally available and capable of meeting those needs. So I think this may require, honestly, having more standards, which means being more selective in your dating choices and taking the time to get to know somebody before you become so emotionally invested. I know so many people in college that they meet people going out. You're at the club, you're at the bar, you go home with this person, and I know a lot of people that they start hanging out with guys or girls or whatever, and they never stop hanging out. They never give that time to like, I think all good relationships start with a friendship. So they don't give that time to be able to get to know this person on that kind of level before they take it to a romantic level. And I think people are so quick to give themselves to other people, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually. I feel like we show people such deep sides of ourselves before we really get that from the other person, or we do things for people when they haven't earned it yet. I think we give too much of ourselves to people when they haven't earned it. And again, that comes back to the self-esteem and the self-worth. And this could be, with somebody you literally just met, or this could be in a relationship you've been in for 5 years. Like you can get into such a deep relationship with someone where you become so infatuated with this person romantically, but you have no clue who they are on that like dumbed down to earth level. You just know them as that romantic partner. You don't know that friendship side of them or that personal side of them. And so I think that part is really, really, really important. But I think we're the biggest culprits of it, especially in this time of our lives where I feel like everyone, at least for me, I feel like everyone around me is getting engaged, or they have all of these great relationships. Everyone's meeting people. And so you feel like you have to have someone too, because you don't want to be at the third wheel. And so you jump quick into that. And also college is a very lonely time. You're in a new place. Probably you don't know everybody around you. When I went to college, I did not bring a lot of people with me. There were probably like less than 10 people from my high school that went here, and I wasn't close with any of them. So I knew literally nobody. And so it's really easy in that position to really like lunge and try to grab someone as quickly as possible so that you can become you can get to a deep level with this person and feel like you have someone, because I think we forget the value of friendships before just jumping into relationships. And that's another big thing in college. I think a lot of people focus so much on relationships, especially girls. They focus on so much like getting that boyfriend before they really like put a lot of effort and emotion into their friendships. I think it's really important, especially in college, to be that girl's girl. I had a friend my freshman year that she was always the first to like ditch you to hang out with a guy. And it's flaky. It gets tiring at a certain point, and then you realize like this friend is not actually there for you. Like it's just be a girl's girl. And so work on building those friendships with those girls, with those guys. I think friendships with guys are really important too, but building those before you really like plunge yourself into that pool of dating, because I mean, again, we just go home with the first person we see, figuratively and literally sometimes. But yeah, so the next one, I struggle with communication in my relationship with my boyfriend, and it often leads to misunderstanding and a lot of fights. How can I improve my communication skills to build stronger connections with my partner? I am probably the biggest culprit at this. I am so bad at communicating. I'm somebody, like I talked about this I think last episode. I will sit on something for a whole week because I don't know how to talk about it. I don't want to offend the other person. But yesterday I was told something that really was valuable to me, because I said, I was talking to my roommate about um just stuff with my boyfriend and I, and I was just like, I feel sometimes I get scared to like bring different things up because emotions are at stake, and like I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or whatever. And she said, I mean, the most change will always come, hopefully will always come from a conversation where emotions are at stake. Either you're going to offend someone and something's going to change, or you're going to offend someone and they're going to leave, whatever. But something's going to change for better or for worse. And those are the most difficult conversations to have, but the most valuable ones to have. But it's so much easier said than done. Communication is key in any relationship, and it's so common for people to struggle with this in, I think, every aspect of our lives. I suck at communicating with, honestly, anybody except for my mother. She's the only one I feel like I can talk about anything with. But I mean, we struggle in communication at work and with our friendships. And I mean, I struggle with communication with new people. I have such bad social anxiety. So when it comes to like talking to people, I get scared. But one way we can improve our communication skills is, I think, to practice active listening. I'm somebody, I spend so much time in a conversation thinking about what I'm going to say next, because I think I'm somebody, I really struggle with putting my thoughts and my feelings into words and doing that in a quick enough manner, like in a conversation type space. And so when the other person's talking in a conversation, I'm really thinking about what am I going to say next to convey how I'm feeling. And I honestly completely like what this other person is saying to me is in one ear out the other. And so this really means like focusing on what your partner's saying without interrupting or thinking about that next response and what you're going to say, and showing empathy and understanding, especially by like, I think, paraphrasing what they say, to kind of like ensure that you've understood them correctly in this whatever conversation you're having. And so if it's a conversation about how you're feeling in a relationship and your partner's saying, I just don't feel like you do enough, and I just feel like I do a lot for you, and blah 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 blah, and you're listening to this person, make eye contact, like nod your head. I have my biggest pet peeve in a conversation, especially a serious one, is when you don't make eye contact with me. Like I don't care if we're sitting at a table or sitting on a couch, where, I mean, if we're driving in a car, that's different, but make eye contact with me, like verify that you're listening to what I'm saying. And so try to do that as well. Like if you're the one listening, make eye contact, make sure that that person knows that you are listening to what they're saying. Maybe nod, say, yeah, totally. Like, just don't just sit there like glaring at them in the eyes, but active listening skills. And then, this person finishes what they're saying, I just don't feel like you care, like blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry. Like, I really didn't know that you were feeling like this, blah, blah, blah. Like, what can I do? What can I do to make this feel better? Or, I'm so sorry you feel like this. I really didn't know. And I really thought that, when I did this, that you felt this way or whatever, if that makes any sense, but paraphrasing your conversation. And then additionally, like, be mindful of your body language, of your tone, of your voice when you're communicating. These, like, I think nonverbal clues are so important, and honestly sometimes can speak even louder than words, especially when it's, I think important conversations should never happen over text. Ever, ever. Emotion cannot be conveyed over text message at all. I'm such a bad texter. I'm such a dry texter. I hate texting people, honestly. And then I don't think serious conversations should happen over the phone. FaceTime's one thing. I know plenty of people like me that are in long distance relationships. FaceTime's one thing. I think having a conversation on the phone, like phone to ear, where you cannot see this person, you can't make eye contact, I think it's horrible. But lastly, like, don't be afraid to seek outside help if you're struggling to communicate effectively. I think a lot of times I call my parents at the same time, they'll be driving in the car, whatever. And I say, like, Carter's my boyfriend. Carter and I have really, like, I think we've been struggling with this lately, or I just feel like this, and like, how do I say, like, how I'm feeling without it coming across the wrong way or without hurting his feelings or whatever. And so my parents, having been married for 20 plus years, they have skills. My dad, who's a man and knows how men think, also he helps me, and he helps me with how to say what I want to say with it being understood the right way and it coming across the right way. And then my mom will help me validate my feelings and help with my dad on, like, okay, this is what you should say to him, or Alex, you're crazy. You're acting crazy. You're overreacting. But yes, this is a valid conversation. I think when you're, I don't think I know people talk about couples therapy. Couples therapy, I don't think is something you should do unless you're engaged or married. But I think that is really, really valuable for strengthening communication. I know my parents have gone to a therapist together before, but it's really important to have that mediator sometimes. I mean, I think that the older you get, the more problems you run into when it comes to financials, extended family, kids. I don't even want to think about any of that. It, like, gives me anxiety. But yeah, like, call one of your parents. I have people I work with, they're older than me, they're experienced at life a little bit, and so I'll ask them, how to communicate with my boyfriend or my friends or whatever. And so, looking to those mentors in your life, or those people you look up to, and that you have open communication with already, I think they can really help you. Okay, here is our last submission for the day. I've been single for a long time and feel like I'm never going to find love. How can I maintain hope and stay positive? Because honestly, I'm kind of getting down on myself at this point. There's such big pressure right now in this time of our lives. I think especially, I go to college in the South, and so ring by spring is very, very much a thing. Even starting in junior year, I know people who are juniors who are engaged, and people who get engaged their senior year or right after college and are getting married. Like, I feel like I know so many people right now that are getting engaged, getting married, people that are starting to have kids that I went to high school with. And I just feel this pressure around me to get engaged fast, get married fast, have kids fast, settle down fast. And honestly, that is not for me. If that is for you, good for you. That life is not for me. I've had this conversation so many times with my boyfriend. Like, I want to have time to be able to live out, like, my early 20s before I become a real adult. But I think, honestly, I don't think that there should be so much pressure on finding love and really, like, trying to date. I think you honestly need to learn. This is something I did a lot after my first, like, college boyfriend and I broke up. I started dating myself. And that sounds super like what does that even mean, Alex? And literally I would take myself out on dates. Like, it's probably sounds so sad and lonely, but like my ideal like day of fun when I had a full day to myself is usually like a Sunday. I go to school in at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. So I am about an hour away from Oklahoma City. And something I enjoyed was I would drive an hour to the city. I would work out at this gym by myself, and I would go on a walk somewhere or maybe go shop around a little bit, window shop because broke college kid here. And then I would go to my absolute favorite restaurant and I would sit and have dinner by myself. I would bring a book and I would sit and have dinner by myself. And honestly, when I think back, that is probably some of the happiest times of my life that I've had so far in college. College is honestly so depressing sometimes. But that's probably some of the most fun I've ever had is when I was with myself and I learned to love myself and I was really like romanticizing my life. And I didn't have any men in my life at all. I kind of said sayonara to all of them. And that is what I needed. And so I think maybe that's what you need. I think go out, take yourself out for dinner, take yourself out for lunch, whatever, and treat yourself and like go do things by yourself. I go walking by myself all the time, and I don't do it just because like I don't have anybody else to do it with. I do it because I love being alone. Like I love spending time with myself. And I don't know, I find peace in the quiet, and I find entertainment with myself, honestly. And yeah, I think that's super important, especially in this time. It's so important to become grounded in who you are and be okay with being alone first, because then if you're not okay with being by yourself and you're so like set, like I need to find love, I need to be in a relationship, then you're just gonna get into a relationship to be in one. And that just doesn't sound genuine at all. So yeah, I mean, learn to romanticize your life a little bit. But I think it's completely normal to feel discouraged, especially like when you've been single for a while or you haven't had that like college boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. But I think it's so important to remember like finding love takes time. And I'm a spiritual person. I believe that God puts people in our lives for a reason. And I think that everything happens at the right time. And also, I think that that applies to finding love. I think that person will come into your life when God thinks that they're supposed to come into your life, and everything will fall into place. And so if you're not finding someone right now, that's totally fine. Like that is totally fine. Pour into those friendships of yours, pour into yourself. And I think you're going to find so much more come out of that. But yeah, focus on that self-improvement, personal growth while you're single, because like use this time to pursue your passions, cultivate meaningful friendships, and work on becoming that best version of you, because then you'll be able to go out into the world with that best version of you. And you'll know who you are. You'll know your self-worth. You'll have self-esteem and you'll know your standards. You will know what you want. And then at that time, you'll be able to pick that out. Like, that guy has what I want. Okay. Or no, like, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, you don't have what I want. But I think it also can be helpful to set realistic expectations for dating. Like, not every date. Like, if you, yeah, go on dates. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, if a guy asks you out to dinner, like, take him up on it. Sure, why not? Like, hear this guy out, whatever, and, like, go on dates. But also, like, not every date is going to turn into a long-term relationship. And that's okay. Like, I know people that will talk to a guy for 3 days and, like, oh my God, he's the one. Like, he's perfect for me. Like, this guy, like, but it's every guy that they talk to, like, they become absolutely obsessed with, like, right away. Like, that's not every person is your meant to be lifelong partner. but don't be afraid to put yourself out there, try new things. Like if you're really like trying to find that significant other, I think like attending social events, group activities, like go out with your friends. And if your friends are like, hey, like I have this friend, like I think he's really great, I think you guys would be really awesome together, you guys should go out to dinner. Like take them up on it. Why not? What is there to lose? If you're single, you're single. Like what's one date gonna hurt? What's another bad date gonna hurt, right? Nothing. Nobody. And if anything, you'll get seasoned at getting wined and dined and taken on dates and being able to talk to people. And I think honestly, the more dating you do, the easier it's going to be to kind of figure out what you want and what you don't want. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being single. If you're in college, if you're out of college, if you're in your early 20s, your mid 20s, whatever, I think that you just need to learn to love yourself. And that's super cliche. And that's fine. I'm totally okay with being cliche. Because I know this podcast is a lot of cliche. But I think it's cliche that you need to hear. So don't roll your eyes at me when I say cliche things, because it's something you need to hear. With that being said, dating in college still sucks. It does. Dating in college sucks. You don't need it. But if you're dating in college and you love it, good for you. If you're in a happy relationship, good for you. Take care of your partner. You know what? If you're a guy and you're listening to this and you have a girlfriend, or you're talking to a girl, or you have a fiance or a wife, whatever, go buy her flowers. Like, use this. This is your sign to buy your girlfriend, your fiance, your wife flowers. All girls want flowers. I don't make the rules. Do something special. Do something special for your boyfriend. I don't know. I think it's fun. And especially going into summer, we have all this free time. Hopefully, you guys aren't leaving each other. I mean, I know some people, like, they live in 2 different places. They're going to college together. They date and they're in college, and then, oh my gosh, we have to be long distance for the summer. That sucks. Sucks for you. My boyfriend and I will actually be together for the summer, not long distance, which is super exciting. But either way, make the most of this time that we have, and take care of your significant other. I think it's really important. But also take care of your friendships and be a girl's girl and pour into those other important people in your life, and take care of yourself as well. You need to learn to love yourself before you love anybody else. But with that being said, let's talk about what is coming up in Einon and in this next week. So, guys, we are nearing the end of season 2. This is the second to last episode. Next Wednesday is going to be the last episode of season 2. And then we'll pause for, I think, a couple weeks. I'll have an official announcement out. But yeah, I know you guys are moving home, starting internships, being some boss-ass bitches. So we're going to take probably a couple weeks. I'll have an official announcement out soon. And then we will get into season 3. Next episode, our final episode, is going to be Summertime is Build Time, which is an episode I did last season. And so we're going to be talking about how we can use summer to the best of our ability and use it to our advantage. And I'm super excited about that one. Okay, with that being said, I'm not going to keep you guys too much longer, but we got to do what we always do. If you want to keep up with Einon on Instagram, you can follow me at inon.pod on Instagram. That's einon.pod on Instagram. If you want to follow me on YouTube, it's Now or Never Pod. And if you're watching on video, you can see all of these down on the screen on Spotify or on YouTube. And then if you want to submit a question and maybe be read in an episode like today's, you can go to alexandriawillard.com/submit a question, and there you can submit questions, scenarios, anything you want me to respond to, maybe some comments, how you're feeling. And then if you're listening on Spotify, you can go down below this and tell me what you think about this episode, answer my poll, help me learn a little bit more about you guys. Okay, guys, with that being said, I will catch you all next Wednesday. But for now, have a wonderful week. I love you guys. Bye. Mwah.